You hear someone call your name. You stop walking and turn around, expecting to see a friend or coworker trying to get your attention, but nobody is there. You brush it off and keep moving. A few hours later, it happens again. This time the voice sounds clearer. It sounds close enough that you're certain someone must be standing behind you. Again, you turn around, nobody is there. Eventually, you stop asking yourself whether you imagined it, because to you, it doesn't sound imaginary at all. What is it really like to have schizophrenia? Before we find out, remember to like and subscribe. When most people hear the word schizophrenia, they picture someone talking to invisible people or acting unpredictably. Movies and television have spent decades portraying the disorder as something frightening and dangerous. In reality, those portrayals are often inaccurate. Schizophrenia is not the same thing as having multiple personalities, and most people living with the condition are far more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators. What makes schizophrenia so devastating isn't that people lose intelligence or become violent. It's that their own brain gradually becomes harder to trust. According to the World Health Organization, around 24 million people worldwide live with schizophrenia. The disorder typically begins between the late teenage years and early adulthood and affects how a person thinks, perceives reality, feels emotions, and behaves. While hallucinations are the symptom most people recognize, they are only one part of a much larger condition. Perhaps the biggest surprise is that schizophrenia rarely begins with hearing voices. For many people, the earliest symptoms are so subtle that neither they nor their family immediately realize something is wrong. Sleep becomes difficult. Concentration begins slipping. Everyday conversations become harder to follow. Friends notice that the person seems emotionally distant or unusually withdrawn. They stop enjoying hobbies they once loved. School or work performance slowly declines. These early warning signs can appear months or even years before a psychotic episode develops. At this stage, life simply feels kinda different. Many people later describe having an overwhelming feeling that something isn't quite right. Then those details begin connecting. Imagine you're watching the evening news. The anchor looks directly into the camera and smiles. Most people see a television broadcast. Someone experiencing schizophrenia might begin wondering whether that smile was directed specifically at them. Perhaps the newsreader paused for an extra second because they were trying to send a secret message. They may imagine strangers on the bus aren't simply talking among themselves, maybe they're talking about them. These beliefs are known as delusions. And to someone experiencing them, they don't feel irrational. They feel obvious. This is one of the hardest aspects of schizophrenia for people without the condition to understand. You can't simply tell someone their delusion isn't real and expect it to disappear. The brain has already interpreted the evidence differently. Just as you're completely certain the sky is blue, someone experiencing a delusion may feel equally certain that they are being watched or followed. Researchers increasingly believe this may be related to the way the brain predicts and interprets information. Instead of simply recording reality like a camera, the brain constantly makes predictions about the world and updates those predictions using incoming sensory information. Some theories suggest schizophrenia disrupts this process, causing internally generated thoughts or expectations to carry more weight than external evidence. Eventually, for many people, hallucinations begin. Contrary to popular belief, not everyone with schizophrenia hears voices. However, auditory hallucinations are the most common type, affecting roughly 70 to 80% of people with the disorder at some point. What's remarkable is how real these voices sound. Most of us have an internal monologue. It's the silent voice that narrates our thoughts while reading or planning our day. But people experiencing auditory hallucinations often describe something completely different. The voices don't feel like thoughts. They sound external, as though another person is standing nearby speaking aloud. Some hear one voice, others hear several. Sometimes they argue with one another or comment on everything the person is doing. Some voices are neutral, but many are hostile. They criticize, insult, mock, or threaten the person hearing them. Imagine having someone follow you every hour of every day, constantly pointing out every mistake you've ever made. Now imagine that nobody else can hear them. Researchers at the University of New South Wales recently found evidence supporting a theory scientists have discussed for decades. Normally, when you think silently to yourself, your brain recognizes that inner speech belongs to you, but in people experiencing auditory hallucinations, that recognition appears to malfunction. That may help explain why the voices feel completely real. But schizophrenia isn't only about hearing voices. Some people experience visual hallucinations, seeing people or shadows that aren't there. Others smell odors that nobody else notices. Some feel sensations crawling across their skin. Others become convinced that someone is standing behind them, even when the room is empty. The disorder can affect nearly every way we experience the world. Ironically, however, the hallucinations are not always the hardest part of schizophrenia. The symptoms that often destroy careers, relationships, and independence are called negative symptoms. Unlike hallucinations, which add experiences that aren't really there, negative symptoms remove abilities people once had. Motivation disappears, and emotional expression becomes flat. Everyday tasks like showering, cooking dinner, or answering a text message begin feeling overwhelming. Even activities that once brought joy no longer seem rewarding. There are also cognitive symptoms that receive far less attention. Memory becomes less reliable, and organizing thoughts becomes difficult. Plus, following conversations requires tremendous effort. This is one reason speech can sometimes appear disorganized. It's not because the person lacks intelligence. Rather, their thoughts may be arriving faster than they can organize them into coherent sentences. Fortunately, schizophrenia is not hopeless. Modern treatment has improved dramatically over the past several decades. Antipsychotic medications can significantly reduce hallucinations and delusions for many people. Psychological therapy, family education, supported employment, and community care all improve long-term outcomes. According to long-term studies, around half of people diagnosed with schizophrenia experience substantial improvement over time, and some recover to the point where they have few or no further relapses. The greatest obstacle, in many cases, isn't simply the illness itself, it's misunderstanding. Popular culture often reduces schizophrenia to a horror movie stereotype, but the reality is far more human. Most people living with the disorder are trying to navigate a world where their own senses sometimes contradict everyone else's. They aren't choosing to believe impossible things. Their brain is presenting those experiences as reality. That being said, what surprised you most about schizophrenia? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. Stay curious and take care.